Ram. Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya 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 Ram. Shri Ram Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Om 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 Shri Ram Jaya Ram. जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम 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 ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Om 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 Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Om 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 Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Om Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Ramdas Speaks, Volume 3, Belgium, Brussels, 17th September 1954. Place, residence of Mr. Luc Hazards. Science will stumble upon the realm of the spirit. Questioner, can you say something about spirituality and science? In what way is spirituality related to modern science? Ramdas. So far as Ramdas understands, science has progressed now to the extent of asserting that matter is energy. This is a great discovery, and time will come shortly for the scientists to say that energy is spirit. That will be the next step forward. When they go to the length of establishing that matter and energy are one and the same, of establishing that matter energy and energy are one and the same, they have definitely gone a long way. We believe that there is a divine power or Shakti pervading everywhere in the universe, and that Shakti is responsible for all the manifestations that we see before us. So the forms are nothing but the expressions of energy. The scientists have also come to the same conclusion. One more step and they will stumble upon the realm of the spirit. They will say that there is an all-pervading silent spirit at the basis of this manifestation from which the whole universe has sprung forth. So scientists are gradually coming to that stage where they will find that the discoveries made by the intellect are bound by certain limitations and that they should go beyond these limitations. This is possible when they make researches into the spirit or in the spiritual realm, which can be done only by stilling the mind. The mind cannot reach there. Only when one goes beyond the mind, one can get the experience of the higher truth. Scientists will surely get it because after churning the mind for some time, they have to give some rest to it. And when the mind is at rest, they will experience the truth. Then they will declare that the Supreme Spirit is the support of the universe. Recently, Ramdas read a book called Man the Unknown. The author seems to be a great scientist, and he has explained, in the terms of science, some biblical teachings and proved that whatever has been said in the Bible is perfectly scientific. He himself was at one time a non-believer in God, and he came to believe in him when he applied science to religion and came to the conclusion that behind the physical universe there is a spirit which we call God, truth, nirvana, and so on, according to the religion to which we belong. Scientific discoveries will lead the scientists ultimately to the realization of the immortal spirit, God. This is inevitable because just as in the physical plane there is evolution also in the mental plane. Mind, in its ultimate quest, will transcend itself and stumble upon the realm of the spirit to which the mind, the senses, and the intellect cannot get access. It is not Shunya. Questioner. A man of science is generally a materialist. You said just now he should go farther than mental. Is that stage Shunya? Ramdas. It is not Shunya. It is the impersonal aspect of the divine. God has two aspects, personal and impersonal. The impersonal has no form, change, or movement, but he is still the all-pervading radiant spirit in whom we can merge and thereby liberate ourselves from the clutches of the flesh. As it is, we are too much in the grip of the flesh, and we must detach ourselves from it and realize that we are the immortal, all-pervading spirit. God is at once formless and with form. To teach others to be good, be yourself good. Question. My daughter wants to know how all the birds come very near her and she loves them very much. She is very kind to them. There are many who like the birds, but still there are many who do not like them but kill them. Is it right? Ramdas. We can convince them not by telling them to be good, but by becoming ourselves good. By following our example, people will stop killing birds and will start liking them. Question. People are prepared to fight all over the world, and there is no good preaching. Ramdas. As Ramdas told you just now, the solution rests in our perfectly loving everybody. If we set the example, we will make others also free from hatred. Example is better than precept. Ramdas does not go and preach voluntarily to everybody, but when they put him the question, he tells them that there can be peace in the world only if we love one another. By so doing, we get peace for ourselves and share it with others. We have to eradicate ill will and hatred from our hearts. Then only we can love others in the true sense of the term, and by such love develop harmony in our hearts and harmony outside us. There are many people who want to love, but they do not know how to do it. If they are told that if we learn to love one another, we will be really happy, and that our unhappiness or discontent is due to our lack of love for our fellow beings, they cannot easily understand. Love is the only remedy for doing away with all the thoughts of war, discord, and strife. At present, our mind is not full of love, but of confusion. If we concentrate on love, we will gradually create an atmosphere of love around us, and those who come in contact with us will also learn to love, and there will be waves of love spreading harmony and peace in the world. How to cultivate love? How to cultivate this love is the question. We must seek the source of life by attaining which we can really love one another. That source is God, or the great reality within us. A man who has found God within truly loves all because he sees in all the same God. There is a saying in the Bible, love thy neighbor as thyself. This is one of the greatest teachings of Jesus. On what basis can you love another unless you have dived deep into yourself and found that you and he are one? The same spirit that dwells in you dwells also in him. And this oneness of the spirit makes you automatically love another as yourself. If you want to love another as yourself, then you must see something common in both of you. Intellectually and physically, you are different from others. But still, there is something common between you and them. And that is the universal spirit which we call God. Truly, we are all manifestations or forms of the one divine spirit, and in the light of this knowledge alone, we can truly love one another, giving up our petty spirit of exploitation, ill will, and hate. People are busy finding out ways and means to bring about peace in the world. So many conferences are being held and pacts are entered into. Still, the situation remains the same. Then, where is the way out of the difficulty that confronts us? How to dispel the cloud of war that hangs over us? Everybody seeks to solve the problem, but there is no solution found. We are in despair and are getting nervous. Intense fear has seized us. That does not help matters. We do not know what part to play in order to bring peace and goodwill in the world. If we talk about love, we must first practice it ourselves. If God has given us the power to love others as we love ourselves, then we should make use of that power. Unless we see the divine everywhere and can look upon all as our own self, we have no right to speak about love. Our love must transform those who come into contact with us. Preaching is not always necessary, but there is a way by which we can commune with another and seek relationship with another, recognizing the kinship of the Spirit. If we transmit love from person to person, country to country, and nation to nation, then we will be able to create what is called world brotherhood. This is essential now to stem the tide of war that threatens to overwhelm us. Start a current of universal peace. Question: shall we have a day when we have such type of peace in the world? Ramdas: ours is to strive for peace, and in such striving we will find true joy. When we try jointly through our prayers to God to bring about peace in the world, by His grace, peace is bound to come. We must rise superior to our petty jealousies in order to avert discord and war. But what we find now is that people have no faith in God. Really, God is not far away from us. He is within our heart, and He is absolute peace. When we tune our mind with absolute peace, we attain peace, and naturally create an atmosphere of peace around us. Individual as well as collective effort is necessary. Individuals should try to find peace within them, and all such individuals in all parts of the world should jointly try to bring peace by spreading the message of peace, and it will definitely have its effect. Though the entire humanity may not join, let a small percentage of it at least take part in this. It will gradually transform others who are not present in favor of this movement, who are not at present in favor of this movement, because man's nature is developed according to the influence of the company he keeps. If we are true to God within and love our fellow beings equally by our contact, they will also be inspired to do likewise, and in this way we will be able to start a current of universal love and peace, which will neutralize the antagonistic forces of discord, strife, and war. You are the universal spirit. Question: what about fear of death? Ramdas: you must get over the fear by becoming conscious of God, knowing you are the immortal spirit. You are not going to die. Fear of death is a weakness, and this weakness gives rise to so many other evils. When there is fear, there is no peace. Now you create an environment of discontent, agitation, and disorder. If you have attained peace for yourself, you can spread it, and even those who are mentally restless will be able to enjoy it in your company. So you will be transmitting peace waves to everyone who comes in contact with you. What you have to do is to draw your mind inward and realize peace by communing with God, who is absolute peace. Be like a generator of peace and distribute it everywhere. To heal the sorrows of the world and to remove the existing unrest in it, there is the need of a continuous flow of such peace from every one of us. In fact, you have not to become, but have only to realize the divine power. You ignore the source of this power and do not think of it at all. On the contrary, you think that you are only the body, subject to birth and death. You are deathless, immortal spirit. Death is only to the body. Take your stand on the rock of the immortal truth, which is your real existence. Then you cannot but radiate love, light, peace, and joy everywhere. You are denying that absolute peace, which grants you all the strength required to combat the evil desires and, by triumphing over them, to attain everlasting happiness which the soul hungers for. You have to awaken this aspiration in the hearts of all others. Of course, one who has realized this happiness can alone do it. Have you not before you the example of Mahatma Gandhi, a simple man who drove the whole of India to follow him? It was done by his soul power, the power that came from the depths of peace. He is an example before the world, a man who used soul's force for the right purpose and in the right manner. The soul force set free from the hearts of every one of you with the object of gaining world peace can work wonders. Mahatma Gandhi said that he could guide people on the right path because he was constantly in tune with the divine. This is possibly not only for him, but for every one of you. In the hearts of every one of you, the divine dwells, but you are not aware of him. How can you then draw from him the power to raise yourselves and help to raise others? To avert war is in our hands. Question: we want to ask you so many questions, but we do not know how to ask. We are rather afraid, and will it not be nice if you tell us something of your own accord? What we find is that although there is spiritual progress, the fear of war is still there. Ramdas, who is responsible for war? Ourselves. Are we not? All of us directly and indirectly contribute to the creation of the war mentality. So every one of us should strive to attain peace individually, and then there will surely be universal peace, and war will not be impossible. And war will be impossible. We know the remedy very well, still we do not care to make use of it. Question: is there a hope to find peace for humanity? Because so far, war and all the bad things have always lasted. Ramdas, there is surely hope, provided we apply the right means of creating peace and preventing the recurrence of war. God never created evil. Question: is evil not part of the creation because evil and good have so far existed? Ramdas, when love prevails, evil disappears. When we tune ourselves with God, discord and war disappear. Because we are divorced from the great love that dawns by union with God, we have created this condition. If we turn our mind towards Him, who is love, we can dispel the war clouds that are hanging over us and thereby establish peace and goodwill on the earth. It lies within us to have war or no war. If we have the vision of God, we cannot see any evil. Evil is of our own creation. It is not God's creation. A man who lives in harmony with all beings has conquered evil. Don't you see some people who have conquered and risen above evil and who behold goodness alone everywhere? Goodness alone is real, as evil is only the offspring of the ignorant mind. If we accept the sovereignty of God by surrendering ourselves to His will, we will love all alike and see no evil at all. Open your heart to receive grace. I wonder if good does not exist simply as contrast to evil. Is the world of peace possible at all? For that purpose, will it not be necessary that the human being should be transformed gradually so that they can understand and reach that love you are talking about? Ramdas, they must open themselves to the influence of the Divine Spirit. Then the transformation is possible. If they shut the doors against such influence, they will remain as they are and will be creators of evil in the world. If they want to create peace, they must hearken to the voice of the Spirit within. Supposing you want light inside your room, you have to open your windows. If you keep all of them shut, the light does not come in. God's grace is ever pouring on you, but you have not opened the windows of your heart to receive the grace. It requires faith in the divine power to receive His light and His grace. God is light, evil is darkness. Question: does evil disappear automatically? Ramdas, yes, it disappears when you approach God, just as darkness disappears when you go nearer light. When you are in the perfect union with God, it completely disappears. Of course, in the early stages, there is a keen struggle because darkness strives to persist. Darkness is born of your feeling of separateness from God. You have denied Him, so you do not pray to Him or contemplate on Him. So evil is self-created. As soon as you are united with Him, evil has no place in your life and you bask in the light of God. Darkness of ignorance is unreal, but the light of truth is eternal. Question: in nature, things are not perfect. It is impossible to take the darkness away. When you try to do so, you always fight with darkness. In nature, darkness always exists. It is impossible to open the door to light if there is no darkness. You are talking only of men, but I am talking about all the creatures. In this way, we find darkness and light. And to take darkness away, it is impossible. We cannot have joy without sorrow. Even if we can, it would be monotonous. The great joy of life is only possible if there is darkness. When we think about nature, when we think about nature, if we are like you, mystical, then there will be light everywhere. But with the nature, it is impossible. We know and believe that darkness and joy are mixed. Ramdas, this darkness is created by man. Even though there is light everywhere, we do not see when we close our eyes. We say it is all dark. Here, we ourselves have made darkness. So, if we open our eyes, there is light everywhere. So, also God, the eternal light, is everywhere. We shut our eyes and say there is darkness. If we open our eyes, we will see God and His light everywhere. Good or evil, thinking makes it so. Question. Common people like me see things imperfect and nature has its opposites. Is it not true? Ramdas. Ramdas will tell you about the conception of darkness and light. If you go deep into the matter and transcend reason, you will realize that good and evil are merely conceptual. What is good for you may be bad for another. What is light for you may be darkness for another. So there is no standard of darkness and light in nature for you when you look from a lower plane. So there is no standard of darkness and light in nature for you when you look from a lower plane. Good and evil are simply standards set by the mind. There is a state beyond the mind in which there is no good and evil. This is the absolute plane from where you will see the whole world filled with one light and one power. In the lower and relative plane, your standards of right and wrong, light and darkness exist, but they vanish entirely when you transcend the relative and reach the absolute. From the absolute standpoint, you do not see nature as separate from the divine. You see oneness everywhere. Before you attain this state, you are like a pendulum moving between light and darkness, good and evil, joy and grief. Now you laugh, next moment you weep, a victim to the pair of opposites. If you transcend this lower nature and dwell in the higher divine nature, you will find the whole world pervaded by divine light and you are no longer affected by the pairs of opposites. This is what the religious leaders, the sages and saints have taught us from their experience. If you also strive, you can attain that state in which there is neither sorrow nor death. Some scientists have realized the cosmic truth. Question. Do you think that scientific knowledge is in opposition to this knowledge? Ramdas. No, it is not at all so. Question. Is the power of science an obstacle to spiritual attainment? Ramdas. No, it is not. After making researches in the field of nature, some scientists have ultimately transcended nature and have entered the realm of the spirit. Ramdas has read the lives of some scientists who have reached that stage. Researches into nature do not satisfy them. They go deeper and ultimately reach the divine spirit, which is at the basis of nature. Then they get the faith in the divine and know that by union with Him alone, man can fulfill his spiritual destiny. So science, instead of being an obstacle on the spiritual path, decidedly becomes a help. It is perfectly true that in the early researches into nature, scientists conceived a kind of skepticism regarding the spiritual values of life. But as they advance, they come to believe in the existence of the spirit because at a certain stage they are baffled. And they cannot grasp the mystery underlying the psychical and physical phenomena. Their microscopes and the test tubes may give an insight into the phenomenal nature, But there are certain subtleties in the working of nature which do not in any way come within the domain of the intellect. So, when they are baffled, they probe deeper and rise higher and discover the source from which this vast universal manifestation has evolved, and at last experience their union or oneness with the divine cosmic truth or reality. The message of Gita, integral yoga. Question: I feel that disharmony in the world is due to the fact that intelligence, love, and action are considered opposing one another. The spiritual ideas of India and the philosophical ideas of America, do you think, can unite these three elements? Is the uniting of intelligence, love, and action not the solution for harmony? Ramdas, you are thinking on the right lines. You see, there are three functions of the intellect, of the heart, and of the body. Intellect thinks, heart feels, and body acts. In the Bhagavad Gita, the great scripture of the Hindus, there are three yogas described. They are Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Karma Yoga. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us that one attains union with God through knowledge, love, and action. These three must develop together so that we can unite with God through the divinization of intelligence, love, and action. This is called integral yoga. Our minds must be in tune with the infinite and eternal intelligence, and our love then flows spontaneously towards the entire humanity, because humanity is the expression of that infinite. When we have love towards everybody, actions will naturally be done as inspired by that love. If our actions are dedicated to God, done in His name, then we have acted in conformity with the pure love that rises in our heart. The trouble at present is that in many countries, people are highly intellectual. They have no love in their hearts. Action is there, but it is done in a state of ignorance and governed by the ego. The Indian sages point out that the way to realize supreme happiness and harmony lies in the illumination of the intellect, the purification of the heart, and the dedication of our actions. Now you will be able to integrally attune yourself with the eternal within you. So what you say is perfectly right. We need not speak only of America here. This applies to every country. The weakness is there in us all. Our intellect works only on the surface and has not entered deep within to see the divine. So intellect has not been helpful to us as it does not indicate the right direction. Love has not dawned in our hearts because there is attachment. We love certain people because they are our relations and friends. We consider others as outsiders and strangers, and we do not love them. True love freely flows towards all alike. The body is toiling day and night for our individual comfort and of those related to us, but we are not at all concerned about the happiness of others. So our vision is narrow, our love is selfish, and our actions are tainted. Thus, we create an atmosphere of strife and disharmony around us. We must get over this. It is a defect in us individuals. And nations are made up of individuals. If we liberate ourselves from the clutches of selfishness and expand our vision, our life will become blessed because it will then pour out love, kindness, and service spontaneously to all alike. God is wisdom, love, and power. Question: are there not techniques to join the intellect, heart, and action? Ramdas: they develop together. They are three parts of the same being. In meditation, you identify yourself with the divine within you. Your heart overflows with love towards all alike. Your heart overflows with love towards all alike, and your actions are selfless and done for the relief of the distress of others, whether they are your relations or not. It is in the impure heart there is attachment, but when your heart becomes pure by the constant remembrance of God, there is no more attachment in it, and it overflows with pure love towards the entire humanity. So these three parts of jnana, bhakti, and karma go together. They are shown in the Bhagavad Gita not as different yogas, but as one synthetic approach to God, because God is not merely a silent and static spirit. God is all love and sympathy for the suffering humanity, and He is also God of karma or action, and His power works through the body for the good of others. God is eternal wisdom, God is infinite love, and God is almighty power. These three are the attributes of God. Meditation links you with God. Question: what is the importance of meditation? Can one progress without meditation? Is it, after all, very necessary on the part of spirituality? Ramdas: let us try to first understand what meditation is. Meditation means uniting yourself with God through a mental discipline. The object of meditation is to keep your mind in tune with Him and to realize Him. Meditation is therefore a necessary spiritual discipline before we can realize God. We remember God constantly through prayers, and when the mind becomes more and more concentrated, it merges itself in meditation into the divine being within us, and we feel one with Him. Remembrance leading to meditation enables you to feel the divine presence. Meditation links you with God. God thought should alone fill the mind until it becomes still, and it is now that you realize your identity with the supreme reality. So you cannot leave off meditation from spiritual discipline. Question: meditation and concentration are necessary only 2 or 3 times a day, or as many times a day as possible? Ramdas: as many times as you possibly can. God thought purifies you. Question: you say there is a world beyond goodness and badness. Can we realize that world every day and every minute perfectly, or is it only a constant struggle? Ramdas: at the very start we cannot realize it. We have to struggle on the path. Self-purification is necessary in order to attain that vision and experience in which we see the world as nothing but the manifestation of the divine. Before we get this experience, we are obsessed by the pairs of opposites, good and evil, etc. At first, you must take it that anything that takes you near God is good, and that which takes you away from God is bad. After you have realized God, there will be no such thing as good and evil for you, and your love goes to everyone, good or bad alike, and your sympathy is for the whole humanity, and your actions are for the good of all. But till then, you do have the conceptions of good and evil. Imagine you are assailed by bad thoughts like those of lust, greed, and anger. You should consider them as evil thoughts because they lead you away from God, and so you must conquer them. These thoughts must be substituted by positive thoughts of love, kindness, and mercy. We cannot get nearer God unless our mind becomes pure, free from lust, greed, and wrath. These evil thoughts can disappear only by the constant remembrance of God. Ramdas found this technique the best. It is very simple. You have only to remember God constantly, and all bad thoughts will disappear at once. Attune your mind with His glorious name. The name of God has wonderful powers. Each devotee may take any name of God which he holds dear. Each devotee may take any name of God which he holds dear. Let him repeat it with all love and see its wonderful effect on the mind. The mind becomes calm and silent within a short time. First God and then world service. Question: is the realization of absolute peace and love possible in this life for everyone? Ramdas: yes, realization of absolute peace and love is possible in this life, and it is attainable by everyone if only he strives for it. Question: can one strive individually and seek peace and love individually? When we learn history and look backwards, we see that collectivity has always swallowed up the good individual efforts, even though some individuals struggle to reach good. Ramdas: in spiritual matters, organizations, societies, and movements are not of much avail. Each one must raise oneself to the divine status by one's own efforts, acts of self-discipline, concentration, meditation, and surrender. These are to be achieved by one's own individual struggle in order to ultimately unite oneself with God. Collectively, this cannot be done. By joining a society, one will not be benefited in any way in rising from the human nature to the divine nature. But after attaining that state, one can join others in their activities to bring happiness and joy to the world. It is not advisable for a spiritual aspirant to start collective activities in organized institutions in the name of humanitarian service before he realizes God. By communion with God, one must develop love for all beings, and that love must inspire one's activities. Otherwise, in the name of God, we will be exploiting others instead of helping them. Without having achieved peace for ourselves, there is no use of our joining together with the aim of bringing peace to others. If we do so, we will be only working for our selfish ends. A beggar cannot render help to anybody. A man of wealth alone can do it. So also, a man who has gained peace can alone give peace to others. Individual peace helps in producing world peace, and that is the only way. To be servant of God is the right attitude. Question: is there not a possibility of selfishness lurking in every action for others? Ramdas: unselfish action is possible only when our mind is completely merged in God. That is the criterion for right action. Our actions get contaminated because our heart is not pure. There is pride lurking there. We may be doing things ostensibly for no personal gain, but they may be a subtle desire for name and fame. We often do an act of charity expecting our names to appear in the papers. There are some who do charity without expectation of any reward. The attitude can come only when we feel that we are the humblest servants of the divine, and that He, seated in our hearts, is making us do everything. Brussels, 18 September 1954. Be established in the inner consciousness. Question: in meditation, it happened to me once that I suddenly discovered the absolute identity of all human beings, animals, plants, and even minerals. This continued even when I was walking amidst crowds of people. After that, when I came back to the consciousness of the ego, I've been wondering to find out an explanation for the state after death where the ego has disappeared completely and we return to the source we come from. As an explanation, the idea of many electric lights in one line strikes me, where the power that works one lamp cannot oppose the other. Ramdas, your experience is right. In meditation, you have discovered the true meaning of the world manifestation. All the names and forms have at their basis the one eternal all-pervading spirit. All the names and forms have at their basis the one eternal and all-pervading spirit. You have found out the essence, the truth or life principle in all existence. The diversity that you see is only on the surface. In the depths, there is only one existence out of which the manifold names and forms have come forth. This is the experience you have gained when your ego sense vanished. When it came back, you began to see diversity again, and the unifying experience having disappeared. Your experience shows that you have a glimpse of the truth. After repeated trials, you will be able to establish yourself in it and maintain the awareness of the reality, even when you are engaged in ordinary activities of life. Killing for food is inevitable. Question. In the life, there is always strife. Even when we are walking, we are killing many insects. Is there something to be done to avoid this strife in life? Ramdas, you might have heard about the discovery of the great Indian scientist, Sir J.C. Bose. He found that the entire world before us is teeming with life. There is life and emotion in plants and even in apparently inanimate objects. When you cut a plant, you are killing life. J.C. Bose has shown by experiments that plants possess similar feelings to those of animals and human beings. When a plant is happy or in pain, we can clearly know its different emotions. We do not feel like killing any life for any purpose. It will thus be impossible for us to live in this world. Even when we cut vegetables, we know we are killing life. That means we cannot use vegetables. We cannot break stones because there is life in them. It is difficult to live if we look at the problem from a purely non-violent point of view. It is said that for food you may kill plants or animals. It is said that for food you may kill plants or animals. The rule is to avoid wanton destruction of plants or animals, while even animals kill only for the sake of food. It is deplorable that man, gifted with intelligence, kills out of hate or ambition for power and wealth. Indeed, such human beings are worse than beasts. It is good to avoid meat in the case of those who are striving for spiritual development. That is why it is said that only such food as would help devotion to God should be taken. For them, vegetarian diet is the best. Whether you take vegetable or meat diet, killing of life is involved. Divine love is a panacea. Question. Often we are provoking others to attack us. Ramdas, that shows our heart is not pure. Our impure heart provokes others to attack us. Here defense is useless because we are responsible for the attack. Ramdas will tell you an instance. On several occasions, people came to attack Ramdas and he only smiled at them. They came very near him, but when they saw his smile, they went away. You need not have any lethal weapon for defense. The greatest weapon is love, which converts an enemy into a friend. We have heard from many saints of the past. Many saints of the past used this weapon of love and triumphed over enemies. Lord Buddha has said categorically, give love for hate. Jesus has said, love thy enemies. What is the principle underlying these sayings? We ought to purify our heart and fill it with love. Love can triumph over everything. The worst passions can be quelled by the dawning of love in our heart. This love is not the ordinary human love. Its nature is divine. It is a gift of God. When we get it, we are saved and we can save others. God speaks through the world teachers. Question: when you have your own religion, could you appreciate the good in every other religion without hurting your own? Ramdas: how could we hurt our religion when we see the same good in other religions as we see in ours? Now Ramdas quoted two sayings of the great teachers of the world, Buddha and Jesus. Buddha says, "Give love for hate," and Jesus says, "Love thy enemies." Can we not appreciate both Buddha's and Christ's teachings, which are the same, and also of other teachers of the world? We must be able to accept them all. Question: it is only a different way to appreciate God. Ramdas: it is the same God who speaks through all the great teachers. The truth is the same. God speaks through Jesus and Buddha, though the words may be different. Buddha spoke in Pali, but Jesus in Hebrew. Question: in the Catholic religion, there is a dogma that salvation can come only through that religion. What does Ramdas think about that? What does Ramdas think about it? Ramdas: that is what every other religion also claims. The Mohammedans say that there is no salvation except through Muhammad. In Hinduism, Lord Krishna has said, "Abandoning all paths, come to me alone for shelter. I will liberate you from all sins." Jesus says, "I am the way. If you accept me and take me as your savior, you will attain salvation." This means through all these teachers, one God speaks. The eye of all of them is the one great God. The eye of all of them is the one great God. True religion evokes love in us. Question: so do you mean to say that any religion that preaches love must be accepted? Ramdas: if it does really evoke genuine love in your heart, it is a true religion and you should accept it. No conflict between science and religion. Question: I should like to know what should be done between the East and the West. Science seems to be a hindrance. Ramdas: science is also trying to discover unity in nature. The scientists have found that matter is energy. When you see everything as the expression of energy, then you see unity in diversity. When you dive deep down the realm of the spirit, you see there is absolute oneness. The supreme spirit that pervades everywhere is beyond the range of senses. Anyhow, science has progressed so far as to believe in the existence of energy, which is the same as the matter we see before us. Science, therefore, does not come into conflict with religion because it has advanced so much and it is on the road to further discovery. Of course, the scientists do not believe beyond what they have discovered by means of sense perception and experiment. As the intellect cannot grasp the higher truths, the scientists do not want to pass any opinion about it. But ultimately, they will also come to have faith in the existence of the Spirit. East and West are one. God is the one parent and we all His children. It may be necessary for some aspirants in the early stages to stick to a particular creed or church, but in due course, they must outgrow them. A fence is necessary for a small plant, but not for a grown-up tree. The plant outgrows the fence. So also, we must outgrow the small fence of our own creed and make our vision universal and behold the divine everywhere manifest. We must cultivate a spirit of universal brotherhood, looking upon the whole humanity as one family and God as our common parent. Differences based on caste, creed, and sect are unnatural. By these, we are creating barriers among ourselves. We must break them so that we may unite as the children of the one parent and live in mutual peace and goodwill. Great poets and singers possess the vision of God. Question: can the poet have the ultimate vision, and do you believe that the ultimate vision is of the Spirit? Ramdas: universal vision is the right vision. Great poets and great singers catch glimpses of the eternal. Otherwise, what they say cannot be so inspiring. From their contact, we can make out that they have that vision. Their love goes to all alike, irrespective of race, religion, and nationality. When the lamp is giving light, it makes no distinction between one set and another set of people. So also, their vision being universal, whoever goes to them is received with love and affection. The hunger of humanity is for love. Refuse to wage war. Question: what should be our attitude if we are forced to join the war? Ramdas: refuse to wage war and face the consequences. It would be better to be killed than to kill our brethren. Fight a righteous war in self-defense. Questioner: if Hitler sends enemies to my country, do you mean to say I should not do anything? Ramdas: we are talking about the question of you being forced to wage aggressive war upon people for power and possession. In such a case, you must not join. But you will have to fight for your country's independence when it is at stake. There, it is a righteous war and not an engagement for wanton killing. You should first attempt to transform the enemy into a friend with the power of love. When the enemy falls upon you unjustly to conquer you, war is permitted in self-defense. Individually, a saint would rather allow himself to be killed than kill the enemy. Where such power is not available for the preservation of the family and country, fight is permissible. You know, soldiers fight only because they are commanded by their leaders. In the last war, you have heard of cases where soldiers of opposite camps shook hands with each other as brothers and friends. The Hindu scripture Bhagavad Gita was preached on the battlefield. To protect the weak and helpless, it is necessary that we should fight. Ramna, 5 minutes. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.